EU draws up plans for military attacks on Libya targets to stop migrant boats. The European Union has drawn up plans for military attacks in Libya to try to curb the influx of migrants across the Mediterranean by targeting the trafficking networks. It is to launch a bid on Monday to secure a UN mandate for armed action in Libya's territorial waters. Britain is drafting the UN Security Council resolution that would authorise the mission, said senior officials in Brussels. It would come under Italian command, have the participation of around 10 EU countries, including Britain, France, Spain and Italy, and could also drag in NATO, although there is no plans for initial alliance involvement. Wow, what a great response to another humanitarian crisis. People are suffering, people are homeless, people are worried about their own country, people are being traded like animals, so I know what we'll do. We'll bomb the crap out of them and kill more innocent people, because that's what will happen. That's what always happens. Nothing ever changes. When we helped bomb Libya last time, remember that? It was those actions that have led directly to the current situation that we have now. David Cameron helped kill, some reports say, 60,000 innocent people when he participated in bombing Libya the first time round. This destroyed any real government of that country and allowed extremists to take hold. And now, only 4 days after winning the election, Cameron is looking to bomb Libya again. It didn't work last time. It sure as hell isn't going to work this time. But remember everybody, we voted him a majority. He can do what the hell he likes. But ask yourself this, how the heck can the EU draw up plans for military action? It has no military to base plans on, or do they? In 2004, during the EU debates between Nigel Farage and Nick Clegg, do you remember Nick Clegg? He was that politician that lied all the time about student fees. He's the one who threw away every single moral in his being just to get into power. No, you don't remember him? Scrawny looking fella. No? He led the Liberal Democrats. No? Okay, anyway, on we go. He said that the EU having an army was a dangerous fantasy.
40 years ago, it was a common market. Now it's a European Union that wants an air force, an army, a navy, and wants to militarily intervene. Indeed, one of your own senior MEPs wanted missile strikes to be launched against Syria until, you were beaten in the House of Commons. This country, Nick, has had enough of getting involved in endless foreign wars.
These are dangerous.
Whether it's you doing it or anybody else doing it, and there is no evidence. Hang on. There is no evidence that our military intervention in these countries is making life better. As I say, with you as Deputy Prime Minister,
that's not the question.
With you as Deputy Prime Minister, we bombed Libya, and it's worse now than it was then. And the answer to Charles's question is, I don't want to be part of a European foreign policy.
The problem, but this is a dangerous fantasy. The idea that there's going to be a European Air Force, a European army, it is simply not true. The problem with people like Nigel Farage is they swing at windmills. They see conspiracies everywhere. I wouldn't be surprised if Nigel Farage soon tells us that the moon landing was a fake, that Barack Obama isn't American, that Elvis isn't dead.
So did it come as any surprise when the European Commission President, who presides over an unelected group of 28 bureaucrats that rule over 500 million people, with not one of those bureaucrats having ever been voted for? Well, the head of the European Commission, Jean-Claude Juncker, calls for an EU army. The European Union needs its own army to help address the problem that it is not taken entirely seriously as an international force, the President of the European Commission has said. Jean-Claude Juncker said such a move would help the EU to persuade Russia that it was serious about defending its values in the face of threats posed by Moscow. I thought the EU was a trading bloc. Who am I anyway? But Juncker isn't the only one calling for an EU army. Our goal is an EU army, says Germany's defence chief. fears country will back Commission Chief's call for force, so it is taken more seriously on world stage. An EU army is one of Germany's long-term goals, according to one of its ministers. Ursula von der Leyen called for defence cooperation to be strengthened so that the continent can respond quickly to international crises. Well, I thought it was a trading bloc. But her comments will raise fears the German government will back the call by European Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker for an EU-wide fighting force. See, this is why people despise Nick Clegg and his party. This is why so many of his party suffered and lost in the election, because Nick Clegg would never admit reality. Farage told him time and time again during those debates last year that the goal of the EU was to have its own army. And if you've done any research about the European Union, you will know that is strategically one of its goals. Every time Nick Clegg opened his mouth, his patronising mouth, he lied. But the EU drawing up military plans is an incredibly dangerous precedent to set. Where does this lead? Bombing Syria without a Commons vote because our dictators-in-chief in the EU Commission say it must be so? Bombing Russia because our dictators-in-chief tell us it must be so? We are handing, step by step, massive, humongous military power over to the EU if they get their own army. Do you really want to be part of a free trade bloc that wants to have its own army?